I'd like to introduce today Mr. Lan Duc. He's been working with me for a long time. He's going to speak in Vietnamese and I'm going to translate for you.
Tôi tên là Lan Duc, sống tại thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Trước đây tôi là lái xe và tình cờ gặp được anh Mai và gia đình anh.
He said used to he drove a taxi and then he met me when he was driving a taxi and then we started talking with each other.
Và sau đó thì anh Mai có việc làm về trẻ em mồ côi tại tỉnh Vĩnh Long và tôi có cộng tác với anh Mai lo về việc làm đó tại Vĩnh Long gần 20 năm qua.
He said then he understood that I had to work down in the Vĩnh Long province, so then he started working with me a little bit and started out working with me with the orphan work down in Vĩnh Long province down in the Mekong Delta.
Thì anh Mai đã dạy tôi về việc làm về trẻ em mồ côi tại Việt Nam, thì tôi giúp về tổ chức làm giấy tờ và về giải quyết mọi thủ tục để cho tổ chức hoạt động tại Việt Nam được tốt đẹp và tới đến ngày hôm nay.
He said I taught him how to deal with an orphan work in Vietnam, and his job is to service and take care of me here and take care of all the formalities with the paperwork and everything and just get everything arranged. He goes in and he investigates the kids. He goes in and gets everything prepared for when I'm here.
Tôi rất vui và được giúp tổ chức cộng tác về việc làm này. Thì hy vọng rằng tổ chức CIOP sẽ ngày một lớn mạnh và nhiều hơn nữa để lo những trẻ em nghèo ở Việt Nam.
He said he's very happy to work with the Southeast Asian Orphan Foundation, and he hopes in the future we'll be able to help a whole lot more of the poor kids in Vietnam. All the orphans in the Mekong and in this area where we work in these two provinces don't qualify for our program. First of all, the cadre or the government officials go in after they receive paperwork that a family's been killed or died or something, and they go in and they investigate the situation with the children. They investigate to see if the family has property, and they investigate to make sure the children are poor and they're doing without. They can't go to school. And then at that time, after the government's all satisfied with it and they have all the paperwork, then they get a hold of Duc, the guy that works with me. And then he goes in and does an investigation that we've got set up with a bunch of questions and questionnaires, like what the kid likes and what they have a dream of being someday in the future. And he investigates them very thoroughly. And at the end, the last one to come in is myself, and then I come in, I make sure the kids have a good character, that they're very respectful, and that they're teachable, because Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh had a saying, he said, "Tinh học lễ, hậu học văn." And that saying means first learn respect and then learn words. So in other words, you don't teach a disrespectful kid any grammar or any books or any arithmetic, because all you're going to do is create a bigger problem for society. So we really screen these kids. It's not like automatically because they're orphans they get in our program. Usually when a kid becomes an orphan in Vietnam, the grandparents on the father's side of the deceased father will care for them. Usually they're older, they usually can't work, so their kids, their other siblings, are the ones that care for their mother and father. They will not allow that grandmother and grandfather to actually split their food and their place of dwelling with those kids long term. They will for a short term, but they won't for long term. And the reason is they don't have the money. They don't have the money to send the kids to school. They'll give them meager food, and everything is just at the bare minimum. The kids will never have a chance in life, and if they don't go to school, they're never going to have a chance to get out of the poverty. So they can't actually raise them, and the rest of the family usually have their own kids, and they don't want to take food out of the mouth of their own kids to feed somebody else's children. We found out through the years that we can't help all the kids in Western Vietnam. So our process and our organization helps children who've lost their fathers, and the father is the mainstay in the family and the main provider. If something happens to the father, the children actually go with the father's mother and father or the father's family. So what we do, we choose the kids. If they still have a mother, that mother eventually, especially if she's young, will take another husband, and she will leave the kids with the father's family, and she will go and follow her husband. There's no man in Vietnam who will raise another man's children. He wants his own family. So we choose and we build the house on the father's family's property. We have them deed it to them, and then we actually have the ceremony and give the property to the kids. As soon as we get an orphan approved, the Southeast Asian Orphan Foundation starts supplying their food. It costs us a minimum of $25 a month to supply their food, buy them school books, buy them uniforms, and buy them all the material like beds and stuff like that. We get them all set up, and then we try to get somebody to sponsor a house, to build a house. To build a house, it costs between $2,200 and $2,500. And the reason the difference in it is how far my guys have to carry the material back into the bush or where these kids live. Some places are real close to a river and we can float it in, it's cheaper. But some places they have to hand carry it in and it costs a little more. So with that, on top of that, we also have people that buy bicycles for the kids, which that's their transportation. A lot of these kids travel 2 to 3 kilometers to go to school one way, and to walk is a long way, but if they have a bicycle, it helps them. And we can buy them a bicycle for $100. So people like to get involved in buying a bicycle for $100, or support an orphan monthly for $25 a month. Or if they like to build a house for $2,200 to $2,500, or if they just like to give a Christmas gift or write the kids a letter and send them some money, they can also do that. When we give the house, we actually have a ceremony here with the government officials, local and provincial, that all come in here, and we have a distinct ceremony of giving the deed over to the children. Now, the children are our orphans that we've already investigated, and we've pre-chosen a guardian to live with the children in the house so that they can teach the children how to cook, how to wash their clothes, how to do all the personal hygiene, and how to study, make sure they study, make sure their nutrition's right, and make sure they go to school every day. Once we get the children established in a home, get a house built for them, get their uniforms, we buy them school books, we pay all their school fees and everything for them to enter a public school here, because schools in Vietnam are not free. There's a lot of expenses, and most of our kids, being orphans, don't have the money to pay the fees. So there's 3 levels of school: elementary, junior high, and high school. High school being the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. They have to pass a test to pass from one level to the next. Most of my kids, and a lot of kids in Vietnam, cannot pass the test to get into the high school. So at that point in time, we find and search a trade school for these children so we can get them into a trade school. We let them choose what they like, the area of expertise that they'd be good at, whether they're a mechanic, a seamstress, a barber, working on boat engines, whatever it might be, and we get them established in that trade school, and we work with them until they pass the test and graduate from the trade school, and then we go on and try to get them a job. Every year at this time, we get together and we have a ceremony in the different areas in the 2 provinces that we work in. We give out school books, we give out bicycles, and we give out all the other paraphernalia like their uniforms and their pencils and papers and their books, their writing books and everything that they have to have at school. Now the kids that study at an A level, they get bicycles. We give them bicycles. The kids that study at B and an A level, we give them brand new books. All the other kids get used books that the other kids have turned in. all the kids, we give them a uniform so that they can go to school, and we also give them the pencils and the writing books and the tablets and all of that. Once our kids go as far as they possibly can go into school, some of them go to college, some of them go to trade school, some of them want to go right to work. So what we try to do is try to find them a job, and then the most important thing is to find what they like to do and want to do, because if we try to force them into something just so they can make money, they're not going to stick with it. So we find out what they like to do and what agrees with them, what they are capable of doing. Some of our kids are school teachers. They go through college. Some of them want to work in the tourist industry. Some of them go, some of my kids work in foreign countries for companies, being secretaries or salespeople. But a lot of my boys, they work in the building trade. A lot of them work up in Saigon in the building trade and making a lot of money. They used to work for us, and now they've learned how to do the basics of building, and they go up and they become very accomplished builders up in Saigon, where they make a lot of money. If you want to get in contact with the Southeast Asian Orphan Foundation, we have a website. It's seaof.org, and on that website is all the information and getting in contact with the office to get things initialized. A lot of times to build a house, we're about 8 months out now, backed up with houses. We build 2.5 a month, and we're trying to keep way ahead. So if you want to get in contact with the office, do it through the website, or you can call the office also and leave a message, or you can email them at our email address.